time to drain my battery. I don't. This is like my first time doing this. My flashlight's on while my camera is recording. Hi. I was having issues earlier today with recording a video because I actually had something I wanted to talk about, and then I ended up recording the same thing like 8 different times, and then my phone kept apparently while I was in the middle of recording, it would just stop. I don't know why. I'll try to keep this short then, since my phone wants to be a dick. But basically, this is for like a Match the Gathering thing, I guess. So I ended up finding out that Magic the Gathering Foundations had over 700 cards in the set, which caught me off guard. And then here I am, my very first set that I've ever made, like an actual set, had 110 cards, with 5 of them being basic lands, and 4 of them being non-basic lands. Only 110 cards. That's not much, especially when you compare it to to Foundations. And I'm like, is all sets around that much? I was always under the impression they were a lot less than that. I had no idea that it was like 700 cards, over 700 cards in at least a set. So I don't know if that's just a Foundations thing or if they're all like that, but when I realized how many cards are in an actual set, I don't know. I feel not good. I'm a little sad because now I feel like the set that I made myself is going to be underwhelming. It's not going to be... There's very little cards compared to an actual set, and I don't like the idea of knowing that what I made, I was making it because I enjoy it. I wanted to make it into an actual set of cards with actual packs and stuff, and then do a draft. But then I'm finding out about this, and it's just, I don't know. It feels like what I did then isn't good enough, and it's just not a feeling I like. So now I kind of want to go back and not redo the set, but go over it again and I guess add 500 more cards, which is gonna take forever. So I don't know, that's just a feeling I have. I'm gonna turn back. I don't want to get too close to the road, in traffic and stuff. But I don't know if that's that's even a good idea, or if... I mean, again, this is my first set. Okay, it's 110 cards for my first set. And keep in mind that every single one of those cards, I have to pay actual money to turn into real cards. Alright? It's not like I get those things for free. I have to pay money. Alright? Per card, it's $7 unless I want to get it foiled, in which case it's $10 per card. If I want to get there is some leeway in that regards, cost-wise. If I do a single card, this is just an example, all right? Let's say I get Pacifism, which I don't actually have a card called that, but it's a real card in real life. That's why I'm using it as an example. I get Pacifism. I make that into 10 copies. It drops down in price because it's a bundle, basically. It's 10 cards. If for whatever reason I end up paying for 50 cards, they drop even more in price. Now, the actual cards themselves are technically, for one card, it's actually technically $2. There is just a $5 flat fee. So, no matter how many cards that I end up choosing, there's just a $5 flat fee on top of it. So a single card is $2. 10 cards drops that down to $1.50 per card, and then 50 cards drop it down to $1 per card. So if you get 50 cards, it's technically $55 if you include the flat rate. Still a lot, but you know, it does make it cheaper, which is nice, but it's just, again, still a lot. So every single one of these cards, I'm having to make I'm making them myself. Yes, the pictures technically I'm getting from online, Google, but I've also used just a blank screen, like a black blank picture thing, because I not everything has a picture. Mainly it's because I couldn't find what I was looking for that would fit what I was trying to do, so I just didn't use one. But so there's that. All right, a blank screen, whatever. These cards, I'm paying money to turn them into real things. I'm not profiting at all from it. I'm not turning around and selling these things. All right. I'm not making the draft tournament and making people pay to do the draft tournament. No, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I am literally not profiting at all from any of this. And I am spending a lot of money already as it is just to make these damn things into real things, real cards. So if I'm having to go from 110 cards to 700 cards, I have no idea how much money I'm going to have to fucking waste on that shit, but damn, that's a lot of money. It's already bad enough from doing 100 cards. You know what the original idea was? The original idea that I was going to do for Magic, for making these cards, was 60. All right? 60. That was it. 10 cards for each color, which is 50 cards, and then 5 artifacts with 5 lands. That was the original idea. 60 cards, way less than what I have now. In fact, that's actually how this set originally started. And then I looked up a YouTube video to give me an idea of how to balance things like rarities and stuff, and how sets typically should work. The number they gave me was 145, and I'm like, I can't do that. But then at one point it was mentioned of like 100 something. I forgot what the actual number was. But it was like 145 if you included artifacts and multicolors. I'm not doing multicolors in that specific set, the very first set. There's no multicolors. In fact, there is only 5 artifacts, and they're mono rocks. They each, one of them by themselves, generate just a color. They're just very cheap mono rocks. That's all they are. All right. That's all. That's literally it. And I don't have much of any other artifacts in the set, like, at all. It's literally just mono rocks that I made. So, with that said, I felt like as close to 100 would work. In fact, I was originally going to do 100, and then I ended up realizing that, okay, I need one more to make everything even, because the mono rocks kind of fucked things up a little bit. And then I realized, oh wait, I forgot to actually make lands. How are we gonna actually cast the spells? I don't have lands. I can't use already existing lands that belong to Magic the Gathering, because whenever I make a card, I use a completely different back. That way you can't accidentally get them mixed up with a real card. I use a black back, of the card. Like, it looks black, different design, and I use that. People can't get them mixed up, and yeah. But the problem with that is, obviously, you can't use actual, like, basic lands that Magic had, or Wizard of the Coast use, because they have the original Magic, backgrounds or backs. And it'd be very obvious what card is land, what card isn't, because they would each have different backs. So that's when I was like, okay, I realized this. Oops, I messed up. All right, let me make 5 basic lands, one for each one. At that point, I had 106. Then I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's change that to 110, and then I'll stop there. So I made 2 lands that were based off of areas that actually exist in the world in this set. 2 worlds, or 2 places. And I would make them so they would create colors based on what 3 colors affect that area the most. So they each create one of 3 lands. So there's one that does white, green, or blue, and then there's another one that does blue, black, and then red. And then those were considered to be uncommon lands, I think is what I have them set as. I don't remember, to be honest. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I need 2 more. What can I think of? And then I made one that's basically, what's it called? I can't think of the name. It's a land that you sacrifice the land, you search a library for a basic land, have that basic land enter the battlefield tapped. I forgot the name. That's basically what it does. It's literally word for word based off of an actual or existing card. I just changed the name of it. And then another one I did was another uncommon, but instead it just produces 1 colorless basically. And then not only does it produce colorless, but you could sacrifice the card as well as paying 4. You can search your library for 2 basic lands. You can place them on the battlefield tapped, or you could have one enter the battlefield not tapped, and then the other one can go to your hand. So I might rework that card, though, to be honest. I feel like it definitely, I don't know. I feel like that land should be reworked, but whatever. But that's just how the set basically is. Now, at least. 110 cards. There's definitely mechanics in there that I feel like should get reworked. I did go back through the set already and fixed spelling mistakes, grammar issues. I did the best I could to fix that kind of stuff. So that's already been done. There is a couple of cards where a mechanic that I made, Freeze, which is based on an old classic mechanic called Detain. It's based on that pretty much, even though it wasn't meant to be. I just didn't realize how similar it was until after I did it. But regardless, Freeze, I ended up realizing that at one point while I was making the cards, I forgot to include the mechanic hint or whatever. I don't know what it's actually called, but the little text thing that tells you what the mechanic does, because it's a new mechanic, so obviously you're gonna need to know what it does. Unfortunately, there's a couple of cards that I didn't do that on. One of them is a Planeswalker that I literally have no room to do that. I have no room to put what the mechanic does. So yeah, I don't know how stuff like that typically would work in actual Magic setting stuff, whatever. In fact, I kind of feel like some of the cards might be a bit too strong, given the fact this is my very first set. But the set's done. I just have to make them the real cards, and then whatever happens with this set, I use this knowledge to try and learn and do better with future sets. Speaking of, I'm already in the process of doing set 2 and set 3, as well as future sets that are way, way down the road. Set 2 and set 3 are continuations of the current set that's, finished, story-wise. I kind of want to go and do what Magic used to do, where it's 3 sets and then a core set, and then, basically it's a block or whatever. I kind of want to go and do that, where I just make blocks. So the first 3 sets is literally part of, I think it's an expansion is what they're called. I don't remember, to be honest. So as of right now, the second set only has like 60 some odd cards. The third set has like 30, I think. I don't remember exactly, but we're both not done. I'm just getting ideas for the other sets that I had already planned story-wise and stuff. And I was just, oh, hey, I have an idea for this set. What I should add to this, what card I should add, what it should do. So I would do it. And that is literally kind of where I'm at with Magic. But I don't know, as I said, if I should go back to set 1 and then add more, or if 110, because again, I'm paying out of pocket for all this. If 110 and keeping things on a low number is fine, because the way that it's going to work is that everything is legal. I'm not banning anything, technically. It's more of just like, okay, well, set 2 comes out. Definitely not every 3 months. And definitely, obviously, people aren't paying for that shit, as I said before. But set 1, okay, cool. Set 2 won't be for a very long time, but during that time, I would give people more things to do with the set 1, so it's not going to be just like, oh, okay, I already know what all this does, I'm done. Like, I want to keep having it be a thing, be relevant, so when set 2 comes out, people would still use it. And when set 3 comes out, I want people to still be able to use set 1 and 2. When the core set comes, I want people to be able to use that. Obviously, all 3 of the previous ones. But then when you go down to high number, I don't think there's actually this many that I have made, but when you get to 15, set 15, you're still being able to use set 1, set 2, things like that. I don't want to ban old sets because they're old or whatever Wizard of the Coast does. I want everything to be allowed, everything to be legal. So the idea was, when I first introduced these cards to people at a local card place, I was gonna have it all be just done as a draft. That would be just that's the idea, at least, is everything is done as a draft. If people like it, and if people are willing to do other stuff with it again in the future, then the idea would then become that next time I would give people, hey, choose a legendary creature, choose a planeswalker. You each take turns based on your positionings of the last tournament. Okay, like player 1, you got first place. Cool, you get to be the first one to choose. Okay, well, after they all choose, well, guess what, guys? You're making 60 card. What do you call it? 60 card. Not brawl. I'm having a brain fart. Sorry. Chimera decks. All right. That's another. It's just like an idea of something else I could do, or maybe making it so, okay, make 40 card standard decks, technically standard, but with 40. Just because I feel like, given how little cards are in this set, you would need to have lower numbers for what's needed to be in a deck. The reason why I chose 60 for Commander is because you have to have one of each. And again, there's not many. Hell, 60 might even be a bit too much. I don't know. I need to figure that out. I have no idea what's considered to be too much for if I did do something like that. Maybe not 60, maybe 50. Just flat out split it in half, and then have it still be 20 life. I don't know. So it's like a 50 card commander deck. I don't know. I need to figure that stuff out. I don't know how still some of those things are going to work. Again, there's not very many cards in the deck or in the set. So if I do make it Commander, I might have to make it a different version of Commander where people can have multiple copies of a card while still having it be Commander. So it's Commander, but the deck itself isn't limited to 3 or 1 card per, or 1 copy per card. I might just do that, because otherwise it might be a bit too hard to actually make decks because of how little of each color there would be and how little of options you would have. Yeah, I think I'll do that actually. So yeah, all right. Anyways, I guess that kind of solves that issue. But anyways, sorry, I'm just rambling at this point. But I do want to at least give you guys a little bit of this is my thought process of the set. This is some stuff that I found out that kind of made me, think this stuff to begin with. And then maybe if any of you guys who play Magic has any opinions or suggestions, I would really appreciate it, because it would honestly help, at least, in this situation. So, all right, I'll let you guys go. Have a good night. Bye.